Welcome to Cybermania, Cyber Talks with the brightest minds in cybersecurity. Discussing risks, AI, emerging threats, workforce challenges, and more. With your host, May Brooks.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Cybermania. With me today is Daniel Ehrenreich. Danny, how are you today?
Excellent, very good. Thank you, Maital, for inviting me, and I'm looking forward to talk about very interesting topic that many people will after that have another 10 questions on top of what we are discussing.
That's right. So, as always, we start this conversation in the same way with you telling us a little bit about you, yourself, and your pretty impressive journey into cybersecurity.
Sure. So my total experience is about 45 years, not long time ago. Okay, I was engineer, then I was expatriate in United States, selling lithium batteries from Israel, and big surprise, I sold myself a lithium battery to Michael Dell when he had a small company. Then I moved to Motorola, Siemens, Waterfall Security. About past 10 years, I'm self-employed, vendor-independent expert. I have my own conference in Israel, started in 2016. I'm member of ISA 9962443 committee. We are writing the standard, improving the topics. Last year I did some new activity because I'm still young, cybersecurity for robotic system for a French company. So every day I do something proactive. I wrote about 150 papers that I published, and interesting, this morning I published a paper which I sent to you, May, and it already ignited a response from people.
It did, and it really resonated with me, and that's actually the reason we decided to have this chat today, because you were on my list all the time, but after reading this article this morning, I said, we have to do it now. So I want to give a little bit of background for those who didn't see the LinkedIn post and are not familiar, and obviously I'll link the article here below, so make sure you look on the comments. But basically, the article is, can or will ICS systems, industrial control systems, be attacked by ransomware? And you had a very interesting point of view on that, and I want to hear from you. How do you see it?
So basically, I asked, I'm elaborating on this question during the past several months. Every time I meet an expert and I ask him, do you believe that ransomware can happen to an industrial control system? And they said, yes, sure, because everybody has a technology approach. Yes, it is possible. Furthermore, I want to tell everyone that once an attacker penetrates to the OT zone, actually internally, externally, through supply chain, doesn't matter. He's in the OT zone. He can do encryption. He can do manipulation. He can shut down the plant. He can explode the boiler. He can do anything. So this is not the question. The question is will a experienced professional attacker spend his time to encrypt an industrial control system? And bravely, I want to say, no. A professional attacker will not spend his time, and this will be the topic of our discussion today. And I truly hope I will convince everyone on this who is listening to this event that ICS OT directed ransomware is not likely to happen. That's the topic. It's not the technology question, it's the ransomware question. Ransomware means, as we all know, data is encrypted, somebody is offering you a decrypting key, and will you take the key? That's the question. Will you pay for the key? And this is what I want to explain.
So I love this idea, and I love this conversation, because at the end of the day, I think that here is a question about the hacker's point of view. Can they encrypt ICS? Yes, just like any other system, they can encrypt it. The only question is, will they? Does it make sense? Now, I always say that hackers are like water, they're looking for the path of least resistance. So I don't think an attacker that will see an ICS that is vulnerable, that is easy to attack, I don't think they'll say, nah, we won't get anything out of it. I'm sure that if it'll be easy enough, they'll probably do it. The only question is, will they get paid? And more specifically, will they actually target those systems? And you're saying that they will not target those systems. I tend to agree, but I want to hear from you. Why do you think that attackers will not target ICS systems?
So first of all, let's talk about CIA, confidential integrity availability, which is a well-known term in the IT area. When you read the papers and the publications of the big organizations, they are rotating the letter. They said AIC, IAC, and some people believe in this, some people believe in that, and I decided enough. I introduced a new term, SRP, safety, reliability, performance. Why? Because when I deal with industrial control system, and you look at the background of my picture, okay, this is a critical, complicated power plant. And then I ask a question. If somebody will encrypt any component of that plant, the PLC which is controlling the boiler, the PLC which is controlling the gas turbine, or another PLC that is controlling the generator, and they encrypt the data. The question is, can I decrypt that encryption? Yes, I can do that. Sure, every data file program can be decrypted. The question is, can I sign that I'm sure that the decrypted file will comply with safety requirement? And now you can see my head is shaking. Why? I cannot hold the pencil. I cannot sign that I'm sure that it will comply with safety. Now, what does it mean? It means that when somebody will offer me the decrypting key because they don't understand the approach which I'm presenting, I tell them, I pay you $1 so you can buy yourself a coffee, but I cannot use your decrypting key because I cannot sign that the plant will return to operating safety. That's the point that people must understand.
And that is actually a managerial problem because unlike traditional IT, with OT, it's even sometimes, I could say, easier in some levels estimating the cost of a cyber attack. Let's say there's a ransomware or any other attack that makes the plant unable to perform right now. I know that I make X amount of dollars per day in this from this process. This is what I'm going to lose because if I have to, let's say it will take me to restore all the systems 3 days, so 3 times X, that's the cost. So in theory, if the attacker asks for less than that, it makes sense to pay him. However, as you mentioned, here comes the role of safety. Because with an IT system, it's data. It's not like I can look at the data and most probably everything will be as it was before the encryption. With ICS, with manufacturing, I'm not sure that I would sign it. You know what? I'll ask my husband, he's an engineer. I'll ask him, would he sign it? I think I know the answer. I have a suspicion that I know what he'll say. So that is actually a great point. And at the end of the day, when we're talking about the hacker point of view, they're in it to make money. Now, when we're talking about ransomware attacks, when we're talking about APTs and attackers that are nation-state actors that are targeting specific, for example, power plants, that's a whole different ballgame. That's a different attack vector. That's a different threat. That's a different perspective. And obviously, it's very different defense mechanisms. So I want to ask you a little bit about what do you see as the biggest threats today when we're talking about industrial control systems in general?
So first of all, what is beautiful that when we say the word industrial control system, operation technology or industrial automation control system, we see a range of equipment, plants, different types. So if you tell me that this system is controlling a warehouse where if something happened, then there will be a problem, but there will be no safety issue. Or maybe just part of the warehouse will return to normal and other part will not operate or wrongly operate. I said, if you are an Amazon warehouse, every second counts. And I said, okay, let's try. Why? Because to reinstall the HMI, reinstall the PLC may take you not one day, it may take you several days. You need to clean all the components, reinstall it. So probably you will do that. For safety critical systems, you can do that, but who will take the responsibility if something happens? So we need to be very, very careful about it, how we view that. So the topic is not a technology topic. The topic is, can I trust the decrypting key? And I always say no. Now, why the entire world is confused? Because every presentation, every paper start Colonial Pipeline, JBS, Norway Aluminum, and so on. And they said, all of these shut down the production. I said, yes, but all of them were IT-directed cyber attacks. Why the operation technology why the system was shut down? It was a management decision because they were panicked. They didn't know what is going to happen. And to be careful, they shut it down. Those who were well prepared, for example, Norway Aluminum, yes, the IT shut down, but they started to work the phones and faxes and somehow they restored. Why? They were prepared. Colonial Pipeline, they were not prepared. They didn't know what to do. They shut down the supply. But we need to be careful. We are talking about the authorization to use the decryption key. That's the point I want to raise.
Absolutely. And I think that you're absolutely right when you're talking about decryption key and safety. And I think that we're seeing some sort of evolution in this industry, and we have to see that evolution when it comes to maturity, because when we started in this industry, we were sort of making it up as we went along, because there were no rules, there were no guidelines. We're still making up the guidelines. We don't exactly know how to do and what to do, and emerging technology is always a challenge. And I want to ask you, as someone who's also involved in a lot of standard making and as an auditor with ISO and other certifications like that, how do standards are actually implemented in the real world when it comes to industrial systems? Can we actually implement them? Do they help?
Well, everything is about a simple term, BCP. Business continuity planning. So when I deal with the industrial plant, I want to ask them, how is your BCP prepared? Because if you are well prepared and you conducted an in-house survey, and just a week ago I told a very important customer, please run an in-house survey. Every employee should write down what can happen that I'm worried about. Very simple, one question. Once when we prepare this list of questions, we can little bit synchronize them, tune them, then we need to prepare playbooks. Playbook is the tool. Why? Because when something happens, I don't need to explain to you what's the meaning of the word panic. But panic, this is what you see in the plant when something happens. If you have the playbook, then you said, okay, I'm not in panic. Whatever is written in the playbook, that's what I'm going to do. And I participated in several conferences where people talk about incidents. What are we going to do? Are we going to have electricity, not electricity? And I said, guys, open the drawer, see, pull out the playbook, what's written there. Let's stick to that because this is only thing I can do under panic situation.
Well, I think that's part of our job as security professionals is to prepare for the unexpected or expect the unexpected. The more playbooks we have, the probably will be more prepared for an actual incident. And it doesn't matter if we're talking about classical IT, OT, ICS, it really doesn't matter. Obviously, there will be attacks that we don't anticipate. I don't think anyone anticipated the CrowdStrike incident, and not specifically for OT in general. I don't think anyone, I think this is a black swan, but at the end of the day, there are other similar playbooks that we could use in various situations. I want to continue this conversation around the various industries because you mentioned, rightfully so, that safety is a huge issue when we're talking about a power plant, for example, or a pharmaceutical plant. Not so much when we're talking about a warehouse. And that is actually something that it will be interesting to see if the attackers start pinpointing different industries. Now, you've worked in various industries throughout the years. How do you see different industries look at, how do they see cybersecurity in the OT environment?
Very good question. And I think I will mail you, or maybe I will mail you another paper I wrote, Correctly Understanding ICS OT Cyber Incidents. Why? When I talk to people, and we often have this discussion, people are worried about cyber attack. And I said, wait a moment. Let's start to worry about a failure. A sensor, a controller, a software, a computer, and HMI. Let's see how I am prepared to deal if I have a flat tire in my car. I know exactly what to do. Why? I was prepared. This is a failure. I didn't contribute anything. The second topic which I analyzed is incorrect action by an authorized person. We all make mistakes, and one of our employees can do something not carefully, and suddenly you have an unusual condition in the control room. I can guarantee you have no idea. Is it a failure, it is an incorrect action, or a cyber attack? Cyber attack can be only three types: internally generated, like Stuxnet; externally generated, like Ukraine 2015, the power shutdown; and supply chain generated, the CrowdStrike and others. Only three types. Let's make things simple. So when I have this good understanding, then I go to another topic. What kind of incidents can we expect? And surprise, only four types. An organization can have an IT-directed, IT-oriented incident. Your salary is not coming on the expected day, nothing, but you continue work because you trust your company. The second, again an IT incident, but it has an indirect influence on the OT, Colonial Pipeline. It was IT, but it has an indirect influence. The third one is again an IT incident. Somebody sent you a malware in an email. The email system didn't stop it. And now the malware penetrated to the OT, Ukraine, December 2015. We all know what happened. Yeah. And finally, we have an internally generated attack, Stuxnet. Okay, somebody inserted a malware-type device. Doesn't matter who did it, why did it. The Stuxnet is actually a very important event. Why Stuxnet is so important? Not because what happened, who did it, and when did it. Because on the day of the Stuxnet, stubborn control engineers like myself, we realized that the air gap system is no longer secured. So I always analyze the situation from these angles, and then I think I have a good feeling about what to tell the customer.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think it is, at the end of the day, it all comes back to what are we trying to protect and against who? It's not the same if you're a nuclear plant or if you're a warehouse. It's completely different. And we have to understand that. And companies should also understand that and understand what threat actors are relevant for them, what sort of attacks are relevant for them, and prepare themselves against those scenarios. Can they be affected by other scenarios? Yes. But at the end of the day, it's a game of risk management. We can't prepare. We know that there's no such thing as 100% security. No such thing. So we have to balance our efforts in a way that makes sense. Let's talk a little bit about proactive security measures, because I know you're a big advocate for preparing and installing things and reducing the attack surface. How do you see proactive measures in opposed to versus reactive measures when it comes to the OT space? Because you talked a lot about being prepared to react.
Well, excellent. I just yesterday gave this advice to a customer, and I said, let's think about proactive. What can I do? So few things, 4 or 5 things I can do, and I'm in a much better situation. Number one, physical perimeter security. If you not protect the installation, the doors, you don't have cameras and so on, practically anything can happen. Second most important is network segmentation. Network segmentation doesn't mean air gap. It doesn't mean VPN. You need to understand the data flow. What is the data flow? And then I can put a diode, I can put a DMZ, I can put a jump host server. I know exactly how to do the best segregation that I can afford. The third one will be assessment. I need to do periodic assessment. I'm not saying patching. We are not doing patching. Why? Why we are not doing patching according to instructions from the vendor every week, every month? Because every software change represents risk to operating safety. When I do a program update, I have no idea what will happen to my system. 5 minutes later, all I can do is to pray and be prepared. And I'm very careful. I bring a pillow from my home and sleep next to the system. So
but we're not saying CrowdStrike. We're not saying.
Yes.
We're not saying that. Yeah.
So then technology upgrade. Unfortunately, the legacy is the biggest problem of our industry. And if you think 5 years now, think about 20, 30 and more years, we need to have a plan. It's not a decision this morning. We need to have a plan. During the next year, we are going to upgrade this part. And finally, don't be surprised, training of your people. Why? Because I do believe that majority of the incidents which manage to cause damage, outage, damage, risk of life, happen because someone didn't know how to react correctly. So you see, 4 or 5 things you do, this is proactive, and this helps you a lot.
I couldn't agree more. I think at the end of the day, it's a matter of balancing the operational efficiency needs with the security. We know that there'll always be a gap. I think that on some aspects, it's probably easier for us when we're talking about industrial control. It's probably easier for us to get the attention of management and telling them, look, if we don't do this, we know how much money it's going to cost us because... However, it's also very challenging because, as you mentioned with patching, taking down the system for maintenance work costs us money, a lot of money. So that is definitely a challenge. I want to ask you, how do you see this? Because you've been both in the classical ICS side and on the cybersecurity side for so long. How do you see the approach evolve over the time? Do you see more awareness going into it, less awareness, people dismiss it? What do you see happening in the industry right now?
I tell you, about 4 or 5 times a week I participate in webinars. I go to conferences about twice a month, and every time I hear we don't have budget for cybersecurity. Now, when I think about it, I immediately get upset, no question about it, and I raise my hand. I said, it's not a question of budget. Because if you need to go to a dentist because you have a terrible pain, you will find the budget to take care of it. It's the matter of awareness. So then I found out that management who need to approve budget for cybersecurity, they don't like the word cybersecurity. We all know they don't understand it. They think it's the thrown money. So I think we need to change the dictionary. We need to speak about business continuity. All what I'm doing to you is to assure you the business continuity, meaning that our shutdown will be rare. We can talk about 99% of on time, 99.99% of on time. This is people understand it. Obviously, I cannot guarantee that, but at least this is the plan. That if I do the investment, I have the people, I train the people, I did the upgrade whenever I can, the uptime will go up, business continuity will improve, and I think management will be happy. They don't need to worry about that they don't understand cybersecurity, although I have a special training for managers when needed.
That's true, but you know, we had that discussion before we started today about my doctorate. Because we've built an entire industry around fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And if something will happen, if there'll be a cyber attack, we'll be down for 3 days, or the customers will never trust us again, or all sorts of doomsday scenario. And we keep saying the sky is falling, the sky is falling. However, we've seen in so many incidents throughout the years that the sky did not fall. And I think that part of growing up as an industry and part of maturing as an industry is, and with ICS, it's probably a little bit easier because we can quantify it. But with other industries, not just talking about the potential loss in case there's a cyber attack, because what if there is no cyber attack? We can't continue to justify our existence by, oh, we're preventing something that might never happen. It worked for 30 years, but I think it's time to grow up a little bit. And with ICS, I have to say, it's one of the parts of cybersecurity that I don't have full clarity yet. That's why I'm just saying now, I'm going to interview you for my doctorate. But I'm trying to find ways in which cybersecurity can positively impact the business bottom line, provide actual value, monetary value that we can say, okay, not just we saved money and we didn't even save money, let's be honest. Usually we save money by saying, if there's an incident, then we just reduce the cost from to less. I'm trying to find ways in which we can actually provide value to the companies. And not running my research right now. Do you have ideas around that?
Well, I tell you, first of all, let's talk between us about the big secret. How many incidents happened worldwide since the Stuxnet? Because, people will ask how many. And I tell you that this is the big secret. Why? Because there are some experts who will tell you it was a 2-digit number worldwide since the Stuxnet. There are other people who say, I don't know, 100,000, million, 5 million, we don't know because it was never published. So let's make it very clear. You cannot hide an ICS directed cyber security incident when there is a damage, outage, or people might get hurt. You cannot hide it. It will go to the news. So I cannot tell you that the 20 incidents which are published worldwide, this is the accurate number. So I like to say, let's think about a 2-digit number worldwide since the Stuxnet. And if you like to multiply it by 3, it is fine. If you like to multiply by 5, it's fine, but for sure not more. not more. So we need to be very clear and say not too many OT directed cyber incident happen. However, we need to protect our organization against failure, in incorrect action of authorized person, some kind of supply chain incident like the cross-side. We need to protect our organization, because otherwise we cannot talk to you about business continuity of our operation. That's the point. That's the way I look at it.
But that's actually a very interesting point, because I'll play devil's advocate right now, and I will take off my cybersecurity professional hat and will only put on my business-oriented hat. Basically, you're telling me that we're talking about dozens, maybe a couple of hundreds of attacks for industrial control throughout the last, how long has it been since darkness? 15 years.
Yes.
So, let's say, as a board member, why would I approve a cybersecurity budget for ICS? I would tell you, no, that's of very little interest. And again, it's risk management. So my question is, how can we go ahead beyond just compliance and lead to true security resilience? Why would I, as the board member, approve budget to do security for OT if that's not even an actual risk?
Because we don't need to talk about numbers, we need to talk about our commitment to our customers. If the power plant will shut down, if the refinery will not operate, if the water system will be contaminated, it's all are one incident, but what is the impact?
Wait.
You can have an impact on a big population.
Okay. So you're talking about critical infrastructure. That's one story. And critical infrastructure has a lot of regulations and a lot of guidelines from governments and other entities. Fine. But now let's talk about a shoe plant. Why would they invest in cybersecurity? Worst case scenario, they will lose money. Okay, let's say they'll lose money because they can't manufacture the shoe. But you're talking to me about such low probability. Why would I invest in it? Again, I'm speaking as the business-oriented person. Why would I invest in something that is complete theory?
Well, you brought a good example, which is first of all not a critical, not a safety-oriented operation on one side, and on the other side, you have a good capability to calculate the level of damage. So level of damage, you said, I will not produce for 2 days, I will not produce for 5 days. You can take some cyber insurance if you like, and protect yourself. So yes, there are considerations that you say, yes, we all know how the risk management happens. I can accept the risk, I can transfer the risk, or minimize the risk, or even cancel the risk. We all know how this works. So yes, every organization need to spend some time and analyze what can happen. Based on that, they can make a decision. Now, there are regulations, many regulations, unfortunately, too many regulations. The one that I'm really participating is the ISA 62443. Unfortunately, this is a broad regulation, and actually there is no such a term complying with 62443. You can say with which paragraph you comply, but it's nicely organized, and I'm guiding people about what is their obligation to comply with 62443. So they don't need to, if you are a vendor of component, you are a maintenance service provider, or you are the operator or the integrator, I tell you exactly what you need to do. I can show you how you can do risk assessment according to section 3.2, what kind of components you should select, 4.1, 4.2, everything is written nicely. So yes, this is risk management. I think every organization must spend a few hours or few days once a year to discuss this topic, make the decision, and then That's it. That's it. If they don't have budget to do a major investment, maybe they don't need it, and this is fine.
Well, actually, I'm not sure it's about having the budget. I think at the end of the day, you look at risk management, and we know that risk is impact and probability. If the impact is very high and the probability is very low, one balances each other out. So you have to decide what's the threshold that is unacceptable for you as an organization. And it's not something that we're going to say, oh, if it's above 3, it's unacceptable. No, it's very personal, and for every organization it's different. It also depends on their resiliency, on their financial resiliency, and can they survive a shortage and for how long. I want to ask you about the future, because you've seen a lot of the past, so I want to ask you a little bit about the future. And what would you say are the most critical challenges in cybersecurity, specifically for critical infrastructure and utilities, over the next, let's say, 5 to 10 years?
I really want to be very careful. I don't want to talk about technologies because the technology upgrade is difficult, it's expensive, and so on. I believe that right now the risk is that organizations are not aware of the expertise they need to have in-house. Many organizations, for whatever reason, they ask the IT people, oh, you are IT person, you handle also cybersecurity, you handle this and this. And unfortunately, this is a major mistake. What I'm doing personally about it, I'm doing my best to conduct training classes. I conduct training classes to organizations. I conduct training class to ISACA. Everyone who wants to learn, please come to learn, because training program has the highest return on investment among any other investment you can do in cybersecurity. So where is the risk? Unfortunately, I see the risk that people are not investing training. Another risk that we are creating by ourselves. Some people invented the very nice term IT-OT convergence. When I ask people, excuse me, what does it mean? Does it mean that our networks are going to be flat without any segregation? It means that we are using the same technologies, firewalls, VPNs, and so on. It means that the same people will be handling both, or it means that we are taking the data from the OT, taking the data from the IT, and look at them in coordinated manner in the SOC or in any other SIM equipment. So the term convergence, people know my opinion about it because people already recognize my name. Daniel is the fighter against the term convergence. I approached the ICS 99 organization and I proposed to use a different term, which makes me sleep slightly better. IT-OT secured interfacing. Secured interfacing, yes, it is connected, yes, it is interface, but it's done securely. So if you ask the organizations that deal with incident response, most of them will tell you, we look at the system was designed by non-expert. It didn't have segregation. People didn't know what they are doing. So you ask me, where is the risk? Yeah, that's the risk. Can this risk be reduced? Yes. And we must do it. Just one more word about the formula, the risk calculation formula, the probability multiplied by impact. There is now an improved formula that the experts are using. We take into consideration one more factor on known vulnerabilities which were not resolved. It's the factor that increased the risk. And we take another factor which reduced the risk, is deployed defense. So now if you take few more factors into the formula, I think you may have a better or a more you're more confident in the risk calculation result.
Yeah, that's the probability. At the end of the day, that's the probability, the likelihood. When I take the more controls I have, I reduce the likelihood. The more vulnerabilities I had, I increase the likelihood, etc. You mentioned the human side, and before we conclude this, I want to ask you, what advice would you give professionals in cybersecurity who are looking to specialize in critical infrastructure?
Okay, so I must say it very clearly. Maybe I'm happy about it, maybe I'm not happy about it, that the vast majority of the incidents which experts must handle are related to the IT zone. That's fine. So people who want to gain expertise, start with the IT, you will have a lot of work and all good. However, when people have a reason to be involved in any kind of operation technology system, I said, take a training class. It's not a long one. It can be 15 hours or 30 hours, not more. Learn the principles, learn the basics, learn the best practices, learn a little bit about the standards which are applicable. And furthermore, I have a training class, tabletop exercise, which I developed by myself. Tabletop exercise, it is nicely adapted to power plants, to manufacturing facilities, to healthcare industry, or even to heavy metal manufacturing. Tabletop exercise. How I am doing it? Very simple. I prepare a list of 10 incidents which can happen. People are worried about this and this and this. And I said, okay, this incident happened. How are we responding? And not a secret. How are we responding? First of all, we ask, did it happen? Does it risk life of people? If yes or no. Does it cause a major shutdown? Yes or no. Who should I report to? What kind of bypass or temporary improvement I can do in order to return to operation. And finally, every incident is ending by documentation, reporting, and final analysis. So if people invest these 15 to 30 hours training into these topics, believe me, that they will be at the level that the organization and the management can trust them, that they will be well prepared. So that's what I believe in it, and I'm not only believe, I'm doing it by myself.
You do. Yeah, absolutely. That's lifelong learning. We know that we always have something new to learn. Before we conclude this episode, I always finish it up with in the same way, with a very short pop quiz. Short questions, short answers, whatever comes to mind. No right or wrong answers. Are you ready?
Sure.
Amazing. What's one cybersecurity myth you wish you could debunk for everyone?
I would like to say, do training.
Training. Okay. And I didn't put it up for this. We did not discuss it before. You didn't know about the pop quiz. I just want to make it very clear. If you could have a magic wand and solve one cybersecurity challenge, what would it be?
Do assessment on your plant and understand the condition.
Ooh, I want an automated assessment. That's what I want.
Assessment.
I would definitely want that. Yeah.
I would say assessment, because at any moment you need to know what is the condition of your plant. Completely. It's like at any moment you need to know what is in your home refrigerator to be prepared to every demand from children. You need to do that.
True. What's the best piece of advice you received throughout your career?
I said, don't worry too much. Start learning. Start with IT. Depend on the position. Go to a CISO class. Complete CISSP. This is the basic. CISSP is the basic. CISO is the extended basic. Then depending on the work that you are going to do, gain some additional expertise, because you are well prepared to gain that expertise.
Okay, so you gave advice instead of received advice, but I'll accept that. Okay. How do you celebrate your achievements?
Well, I tell you, not a secret. I'm a 75-year-old. I continue working. I open my office in early morning and close it late evening. I help people. I write articles. I organize conferences. If I can contribute to people to upgrade their cybersecurity posture, I feel good. I did my work.
That's beautiful. So you know what, last but not least, at 75, that's amazing. What keeps you motivated?
Keeps me motivated that I think that there is so much to do. When I see my customers, when I see organizations that they are not prepared because nobody told them for years to be prepared, I said, if I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to do that through presentations, training, and papers, and the conference that I organize in Israel about industrial cybersecurity, who will do that? Everybody is too busy. I'm not that busy. I have time. Ask me what is needed and I do it.
That's beautiful. Daniel, thank you so much for joining me today. It was such an amazing conversation, as I knew it would be. And I will link here below your LinkedIn profile and your wonderful article that started this discussion this morning. And I'll see you all next time here on Cybermania.